Virginia is probably the most historical state in the United States. It's where the British set up their first colony, and it's been the home of 5 United States presidents. And you will be surprised to know the things that you think are in Washington, D.C., there's quite a lot of important ones in Virginia. So I'm speaking to Christi Braggington, who is the International Media Relations Manager for Virginia is for Lovers. Well, Christi, I'm loving you already. Now, I believe Virginia is for Lovers has been in existence now for about 50 years, that phrase. Why did you choose that phrase? Is it because everyone that goes there doesn't want to leave?
That's a good one. I should use that one. The slogan, yes, you are correct. It's been around for 50 years. Actually, 50 was our anniversary in 2019. So 50 plus years at this point. The slogan came about because our agency at the time, the Martin Agency, which is now actually our agency of record again, was searching around and trying to figure out a good new tourism slogan. And it's actually Virginia Tourism Corporation is our technical title.
Right. We don't like technical things though, do we?
No. We use it Virginia Tourism for short. So they were looking around for a slogan concept for Virginia Tourism. And they were talking about how we have all these different beaches and the mountains and how much diversity we really have in the state and all the history that you were talking about, et cetera. And they were contemplating and saying something like, why don't we say Virginia is for lovers of beaches and Virginia is for lovers of mountains? And that, of course, was kind of awkward. Plus, it didn't put it all under one heading. Then they went, well, wait, why don't we just say Virginia is for lovers? And then we'll explain. So that's what got sent up the chain and it was agreed upon. And there it was birthed. The interesting thing, of course, is that it got a lot of buzz right off the bat because especially during the time frame when it was launched, you got a lot of people going, oh, lovers, oh, it's romance. And so it actually makes for a great talking point because we can say, no, it's about lovers of vacation, lovers of time with family, lovers of time off, lovers of everything that's great in a vacation, Virginia has.
It is really a varied state. You've got Chesapeake Bay, you've got Virginia Beach, and then you do have these wonderful mountains, and you've got the Appalachian Mountains, you've got Shenandoah National Park. It must be a wonderful place because you can go to Chesapeake Bay and you can eat your famous oysters on Chesapeake Bay, then that evening go up into the Appalachians and listen to a bit of string band music, I guess.
That's a nice summary right there. We'll hire you. Would you like to come work for?
I would love to.
Yeah, just to touch on some of the things you said, one of the things we do talk about is the diversity of landscape, which allows for a lot of diversity of activities. So to give you kind of context, you said about Virginia Beach and the Chesapeake Atlantic Ocean. Virginia Beach sits right on that tip of Atlantic Ocean and the Chesapeake Bay. It's the warmest water beach close to the north. So what that means is we get a lot of Canadians who drive down because it's the first place where you can actually get to like warm enough water to be able to go swimming, most of the year. So we get a lot of Canadians. But the other advantage of that is that the dolphins, it's just the right temperature that they can literally live there year round, which is fantastic because that means kayaking with dolphins is absolutely one of those things you can do. And I can't guarantee it because you can't guarantee much of anything in life, but every time people go out there, you see dolphins every time, which is an unusual thing.
Chesapeake Bay is the largest estuary in the United States, so there must be plenty of room there. And some of the beaches, as you say, the water is quite warm, so you must get a lot of people there in the warmer months going to Chesapeake Bay and Virginia Beach, do you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I kind of got sidetracked off there. By the way, Virginia Beach is the longest pleasure beach per the Guinness Book of World Records, 28 miles of warm, sunny beaches, as we like to say. You get separate beach type experiences along the Atlantic Ocean as compared to the Chesapeake Bay. So lots of different opportunities for beach lovers there. Correct. Exactly right. So the surfing competitions, for example, in Virginia Beach happen on the Atlantic Ocean side, whereas, a lot of the fishing, a lot of the kids playing in the gentle waves happen on the Chesapeake Bay side. And you are correct about the largest estuary. There's been a move on for years, but now it's coming back to a head to turn the Chesapeake Bay into a national park, a national preservation area. And they would still have access for boats and all of that stuff, but there would be areas that are set off so that it's more preserved for the long term. So that'll be interesting to look at as it comes along.
I have a little bit of interest in history, and certainly if you are interested in US history, then Virginia is the place to go. As I mentioned before, it was the first colony that the British set up there, but it was also very, very important during the American Civil War. And there's so much. You've got towns like Williamsburg, for instance, which are just full of... Well, Williamsburg is an historical town which recreates a certain period in American history, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so let me jump in on the history side. And I got sidetracked not finishing talking about the diversity, because one of the things I like to say is you can go hiking in Shenandoah National Park in the morning when it's cooler and beautiful and all that. And you can see the beautiful colors in the fall in the Appalachian Mountains and in Shenandoah National Park. Then you can get in your car and drive less than 4 hours. And in the evening, you can go out and surf on the Atlantic Ocean. The weather really is that beautiful all year round. In fact, the late fall is one of the best times to go and visit our beaches because they're still warm, was one of the points I was going to make. Let's talk about history. 8 presidents actually are from Virginia.
8.
Including our first, George Washington. And you can go and visit George Washington's plantation home, which is Mount Vernon, just outside of Washington, D.C. You can also visit every other plantation homes and presidential homes and libraries, et cetera, in Virginia. We coin ourselves the birthplace of America because we were the first permanent English settlement in the New World, which was at Jamestown, part of what we call the historic triangle, which involves colonial Williamsburg, like you said, Jamestown, which was that first permanent English settlement, and then Yorktown. So Yorktown is the final battle of the Revolutionary War. So where we finally won our independence from the Brits. And then colonial Williamsburg was the second capital after Jamestown and is a preserved living history museum. It's the largest living history museum. So you can go there and see what colonial life was like in Virginia back in that time. So it's a great small little area connected by the Colonial Parkway, which is its own national park. And you can go and visit all of that and really get a breadth of history all the way from the start of America with Jamestown up to through the Revolutionary War and beyond into colonial times.
Could I just say that I would have a problem hiking in the Appalachians in the morning and then going surfing in the afternoon, because on that 4-hour journey, I would encounter over 300 wineries, about 300 craft breweries and many distilleries. I would have to stop at one or two of them,
And don't forget the cideries. We have lots of and we do cider in not just that, sweet stuff that a lot of people think about when they think of American cider. We do the traditional colonial cider that they used to drink. It's almost like wine. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes whether it's cider or it's wine. Yes, you are correct. There are more than 300 wineries. I think we're actually up to 330 was the last one I heard, but more than 300 works all through Virginia, including even on our eastern shore along the Chesapeake Bay and all the way over into the Shenandoah Valley. They're everywhere. And then we have same in craft breweries, which are also everywhere, and lots of distilleries. We make some great bourbon. We make some moonshine. Moonshine is a great story too about Virginia.
I guess if you've got the Appalachian Mountains, we do know that moonshine was made by mountain men. So I guess there's a history.
That's right. That's right. I always tell people that Lawless, often on Netflix, or you can get it on a lot of your servers, but it tells the history of running moonshine in the Virginia mountains and the Bondurant brothers, who actually still have a distillery here today and create moonshine. So if you want to learn the history of moonshine, go watch Lawless. An interesting little fact that a lot of people don't realize is that it's running moonshine that birthed NASCAR, because all of these people, were creating their unlawful whiskey in the middle of the night. They were running it to the speakeasies and outrunning the police. So they souped up their cars in order to outrun the police. And that's what started this whole little competition between, oh, my truck's better than your truck. And ultimately, it led to NASCAR and racing in the southern United States, which is why it's so popular in that region around the Appalachian Mountains.
Perhaps the moonshine was used to fuel the cars as well. It's
Possibly. Quite possibly, or a slight version of it. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised, because it's legal to create moonshine now in the U.S. And literally, you can go and talk to people whose families have been doing it since the start. And the history there is just really entertaining and, I must say, quite delicious.
I'm Steve Collins. Join me for part 2 of my conversation with Christi Braggington.